I made another change in my dividend growth portfolio last week. I sold out of one stock and replaced it with two others. I want to tell you what I did, why I did it, and the impact that the changes will have on my portfolio. I'm Dave Van Napp for the Dividends and Income channel. Please help us out by clicking the thumb up button if you appreciate this content, subscribing to our channel, and ringing the notification bell to get notices when we post new videos, and also when you make a comment. If you make a comment, when you get a reply to it, you'll receive a notification that you have a reply. Thanks very much. I have run my public real money dividend growth portfolio, which I'll sometimes refer to as the DGP, since 2008. While it's generally a buy and hold enterprise with little turnover, it's not a passive buy and ignore portfolio. It's mostly a buy and hold operation, but I really think the best description of it is buy and monitor. This year has been unusual. Circumstances have led me to make more changes than normal in 2021. I've sold out of two companies, AT&T in July, and the one I'm going to tell you about now. I decided to sell out of Hasbro and replace it with two other positions. Before I reveal those, let's talk about Hasbro first. I owned Hasbro since 2012. I made a single purchase then and never added to it. That position more than doubled in value, not counting the dividends that it paid out over the years. But in the past few years, Hasbro's fortunes changed for both fundamental reasons and because of COVID. Most important for my strategy, Hasbro froze its dividend. Its last increase was in 2019. You can see here that Hasbro has now made 10 straight payments with no increase, and it has announced its final payment for 2021 to be paid in November with no increase there either. So Hasbro is no longer a dividend growth stock. It had an increase streak of 17 straight years going, but it has been removed from the dividend champions list. It will finish 2021 having paid out the same amount that it paid out in 2020. And so it loses its status as a dividend growth stock. I gave Hasbro plenty of time to raise its dividend, 2.5 years, but in addition to its frozen dividend, its price has been flatlined since early 2017. I finally decided that it's time to move on. So on Monday, October 25th, I sold my 52 shares of Hasbro and I received $4,619 for them. By selling those shares, I gave up $141 in annual dividends that Hasbro had been sending me. Hold that thought. Let's talk about what I replaced Hasbro with. Here's my first choice for replacing Hasbro. It's Prudential. Here's what I like about Prudential. It's high yield at 4%. Its high dividend growth rate for such a high yield stock, which has been 12% per year for the past 5 years, although it was only 4.5% this year. Its good dividend safety score, 75 out of 100 points. From Simply Safe Dividends, which indicates that Prudential's dividend is unlikely to be cut. And Prudential has a solid, sustainable, profitable business that has an A-level credit rating from Standard & Poor's. When I was looking into making the purchase of Prudential, I valued its stock. And here's what I came up with. The big stories in the middle, the fair price range, which I put in the range of $103 to $120. I was able to obtain Prudential for $114 and a nice yield of 4%. I bought 32 shares using $3,565 of the proceeds from selling Hasbro. As I'll show you in a little while, that purchase completely makes up for the loss of dividend income from Hasbro, and it still left me with $1,000 to spend. I spent that leftover money on QYLD, the NASDAQ 100 covered call ETF from Global X. I covered QYLD completely in my video dated October 7th, so I won't go into details here. Just some quick highlights. QYLD is a type of ETF called derivative income by Morningstar. And by derivative income, it means the QYLD follows a strategy of writing covered calls on the stocks that it owns. Writing means selling, so it collects premiums from selling those covered calls, and those premiums are what are used to send shareholders dividends. It has an 11.3% yield, which is very high. It has a modest 5-year dividend growth rate of 4% per year. In actuality, I don't over time expect QYLD's dividend to rise very much or fall very much from year to year. It pays out monthly. I consider it to be fairly valued anytime I can get it or anybody can get it at a yield of 11% or more. I think that's a fair valuation for this ETF. And Morningstar, which does some ratings on ETFs, has mostly positive things to say about it. I bought QYLD to be an income generator. By that, I mean that I expect it to kick out its high yield every year. Then I will use those dollars to reinvest in conventional dividend growth stocks. In other words, QYLD will feed my monthly dividend reinvestment program. Through that program, I grow my income stream, balance out positions, raise the portfolio's quality and dividend safety, and so on. I snagged 41 shares of QYLD at a total cost of $929. So in the end, I replaced Hasbro mostly with Prudential, plus a small slug of QYLD, mostly as an experiment. This display shows you my portfolio management activities in 2021 in my dividend growth portfolio. As I said before, it's been a busy year with more activity than I usually have. There are some years where I make no changes to the portfolio at all. This slide summarizes all the changes this year. I circled at the bottom in red the change that we've been talking about in this video, as well as the total effect of all the changes this year. So the October line shows the selling out of Hasbro for $4,600, the purchase of Prudential and of QYLD, and in the last column, the net dividend impact of those changes this time, which is to add $111 to my annual income stream. And if you look at the green total line across the bottom, you can see now that I have added $49 per year in income through the changes I made this year. That doesn't sound like much, and it's not much, but the big point for me is that I have now totally made up through portfolio changes the $204 in income that I lost when I sold AT&T in July. And that brings us to the end of this video. I will have one more for you guys in a few days before I go on vacation for a couple weeks. My wife and I will be in Hawaii celebrating our 40th anniversary. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.